Welcome to Close Up on America's Business, the program that takes you inside some of the most unique and successful companies in America. I'm Jim Masters. On each edition of our show, we introduce you to some of the most innovative business leaders in the country today. You'll discover what their products, services, technologies, and business models can do for you, what they're doing to change our world and change the way we do business.
You may never have thought about it before, but here in Texas, dirt is big business. That is, moving dirt, in order to make way for things like home sites, retail shopping centers, and lakes, just to mention a few. And something else, let me tell you, there is a lot more to moving dirt than meets the eye. Take, for example, the equipment involved, like this massive earth scraper behind me. It can cost up to $750,000, and that's just one piece of equipment on a typical job site like this. Now, while there are many companies here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that are in the so-called dirt business, there are few, if any, who do it with the integrity, the experience, and the modern technology that H.L. Merrill & Sons Excavating brings to the table. To learn more about this amazingly complex business, we visited the company's headquarters and talked with the company's owner and president, Bill Whitehill, who described for us just exactly what he does.
I would describe us as a small to medium-sized excavating company. Typically, we're known as a scraper company. There's a distinction there between us and just a normal excavating company. The fact that we have scrapers enables us to do some mass excavating. But we also do underground. We do water, sewer, storm drain, lakes, dams, irrigation projects. We're recently getting very involved with the energy program, doing a lot of work with gas-fired turbine electric plants. And our mainstay, of course, is wind farms. Very similar to the oil and gas industry, where we've done the roads and sites for the drilling companies. In this instance, we're doing the roads and sites for the turbine installations. While we don't compete with the highway contractors, we do hold our own in the development community. We can move a lot of dirt in a short period of time.
I've done business with H.L. Merrill Company for more than 30 years. They're stewards of the land. I don't have to worry about them just turning some guy loose out there and he tears up as much as he fixes. Bill demands that his people respect, whether it's his land, my land, your land. He demands respect for other people's property. H.L. Merrill Company helps me in my business, the home building business and land development. I use H.L. Merrill to build the streets, excavate the land. That's what they do, and that's what I need. They do a good job. Primarily, I use them because they're fair with their billing. They are stewards of the land. They take care of my land.
Actually, as you can see in the panorama behind me, some of the mountaintop sites for the wind turbines are very remote and difficult to access. We're standing on one of the roads that we built to get us to the mountaintops. As simple as it looks now, it's really a very complicated task. The first thing we have to do when we access a site like this is to do the clearing. We try to be conscious of the trees. All these are private ranches. All this property is privately owned. So we try to be as considerate as we can for the landholders and the ranchers. But clearing the trees gets us to our first step. Once the trees are cleared, then we have to decide the best route to the top of the mountain. We have to traverse this property, keeping in mind all the time that the fan blades you see behind us are about 130 feet in length. The towers are about 260 feet tall. All that equipment and material has to be transported down the roads that we built, through the ravines and across the creeks and then on to the top of the mountain. Most of these sites are extremely remote. Rock in this part of the country is a problem for us.
We're building about a 3-acre lake for a private developer. It's probably going to be maybe 15 foot deep. He may end up putting some houses around it. He may put his own house around it.
You do big lakes.
Yes.
Like what?
12, 15, 22 acres. It was the last one I done was actually 22 acres. It's a little different, you know, from an office job. It's outside, you move around a lot, you know. The weather kind of restricts some of your actions. To do the job right, it takes a little skill. It's an outdoor kind of job, and that's what kind of person I am.
Over the years, the equipment has really changed. Moving dirt is still moving dirt. I started moving dirt back in the early 60s. We moved dirt for about 85 cents a cubic yard. And today we're moving dirt for $1.85 a cubic yard. And money for dirt hasn't really increased over 40 or 50 years. And it's true. What's changed is the technology. The machinery that you use to move the earth has changed dramatically. A scraper back in the old days pulled with a Caterpillar bulldozer. You know, if you could move 400 to 500 yards a day, you were lucky. Now we're moving 1,500 to 2,000 cubic yards a day with that same scraper with the new technology. The equipment has evolved over the years. Not only has it become more powerful, the people who operate it more skilled, but the technology that's involved makes doing the job much easier.
Headquartered in Hurst, just northeast of Fort Worth, this multifaceted infrastructure site improvement company has been providing solutions throughout North Texas since 1950.
As you can see at the bottom of the tower, all the way around the circumference, are 144 what we call anchor bolts. These anchor bolts anchor the tower to a concrete structure below the surface of the ground. That's what HLM Excavating does. We dig those foundation holes 8 feet deep, 54 feet across, typically in solid rock. Then the framework is set on what we call a mud map, and that's poured solid. That cone that comes up to those 144 bolts is poured solid. Then, once the concrete's cured, we take the earth and surrounding soil and backfill the cone-shaped foundation and compact it in place. And the combination of the anchor bolts to the concrete and the concrete buried in 8 feet of earth is what keeps those towers from blowing over.
The primary reason that we use Merrill is because, number one, I trust them to do good work. And the way that we approach doing our excavations is a little different than a lot of people. Basically, when we get ready to do a subdivision and we have a tract of land, we have a rough topographical map of it, and I generally go out there with Bill Whitehill, and he and I look at what the whole thing looks like, and we just decide how we want to make it look for a subdivision, and we do all the rough excavation before we ever let the engineers get in on the site. Quite frankly, it saves us a lot of money to be able to do that. And the way I work with Merrill, different than the way some people do, I don't get bids. We just start working and I just pay them by the hour, and that works just fine with me and it works fine with them too. We don't have any contingency costs in it. Basically, that's built on trust. You have to be trusting the people you're working with in order to do that, but I've always got excellent results from them, and Bill Whitehill provides me a lot of good advice on what we should be doing as we're proceeding with the rough grading.
The biggest aid that I have in moving dirt is that I seem to have a perception for the finished product. I've always been good at it. I don't know why. I don't know whether it's a natural instinct or not. My dad and my granddad were builders. They really weren't developers. For some reason, I can take a piece of property and visualize the completed project, which makes it much easier to build. If you have in your mind, your mind's eye, the completed project, it's much, much simpler to build. I have a little therapy session with myself about once a week when I get to thinking that things are really tough and I might want to do something else. I go out and get on a bulldozer, and I spend about 6-8 hours on a bulldozer. When I get off at night, I'm dog tired, and I drag into home, and my wife looks at me and she says, "Well, you've been running a dozer today." And I said, "Yeah," and then tomorrow morning when I get up, I'm going to want to do it all over again.
A look inside the amazing business of moving dirt from a company that has been doing it for some 60 years and is now tackling projects as far as 200 miles away from its headquarters on such exciting projects as wind farms and the like. I'm Doug Llewellyn reporting from a job site here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
That concludes this edition of Close Up on America's Business. If you'd like more information about any of the companies featured on today's show, please visit our website at closeuptvnews.com. I'm Jim Masters. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.